Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join real estate entrepreneur and mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Guys, welcome back to Construct Your Life. This is Austin Linney here. I have Brandy Salazar. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful. How are you, Austin?
I'm doing good. Guys, if you want to know where Matty A got all his direction, this is the lady. Nah, I got to give him a hard time if he listens to this. But, I met Brandy. She told me her story. She's doing so great. Many things. You have a kind of a wide career. I would say, you took your seasons, to task, you shifted gears and throttled up and down. But, what I like to do with my guests is kind of let them tell their story and start wherever they want to, and we'll kind of see where it goes from there.
Yeah, absolutely. I always like to kind of start in the beginning, because when I meet somebody, I feel like there's a lot to be learned about them when you think about where someone came from and what they've persevered through. So I came from a lower class family. My father was a drug addict, and my mother struggled with addiction and abusive men coming in and out of our lives. And so I developed this really interesting ability to survive, like a lot of kids in chaos do. And so as I got into doing life as what I thought was an adult around 15 years old, I had that survival mentality, and it was do whatever it took to survive. And for me, survival equated to putting food on the table and having shelter over my head. And so the thing that gets you that is money. And so my focus for survival at a fairly young age, and I watched my family struggle financially so much. And so I think when you're witness to something growing up, you either take the path of, going down the same train or going down the other path. And so for me, it was, how do I do absolutely everything to not have that life? And so part of that for me and the driving force was, money's going to solve it. And so I learned how to get good at making money and helping other people make money to be able to, be part of that. And real estate and development became my vehicle for 20 years. And I bring that survival story up because what happened was having this one track really put me in a place. By the time I had met my husband and we had started having children, we had our first daughter, and I felt like I was failing everywhere, because once you get to a certain place in life and you have the house and you have the cars and you have what you think you'd been working for that whole time, you realize that one track really leaves you empty from a lot of other things. And so I had to spend a lot of time there in my late 20s, early 30s, figuring myself out again. And, you and I have talked before about really just authentically being you. And so I had this real pivotal experience in my 30s of going from being this person that I thought I was supposed to be to becoming who I really was, and having kids and having at the time, failed marriage really brought a lot of those wounds that I had to the forefront. And it made me really reevaluate my priorities and reevaluate, what really mattered. And so my life went into a radically different direction. And, not to say that I ever look back and say, oh, it was bad thing that you figured out how to make money. You know, I don't look at it from that perspective, but, you know, I have an MBA in how to pivot your life in a way that the priorities are the priorities. And having that childhood was really the catalyst to be able to really mess it up. I say that with a grain of salt, and pivot back in a way that, you know, I've spent the last 7-8 years of my life getting to a place where I am today of being a great mom and really being in love with my husband and really being in love with myself. Like that's the part that if we all strip it back, where we can authentically be ourselves and be in competition with no one, it's a deep sense of self-love, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's my story. That's who I am. Somebody just fighting for love for themselves and for others. And really now on a journey to help others do the same. Because hero's journey, right? Isn't that what we're all here for?
You said something to me the first time we talked that I've used probably 45 times. And you said that this was your thing. You said it was going to be your thing for the rest of your life. You probably don't even remember what you said, but you said, I'm going to teach high achievers and entrepreneurs that they can turn off their flame and still turn it back on.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I think
take a break.
Yeah.
You can take a break. Sometimes we need to take a break. And in this season where we're at right now with the state of the world, some people need to turn that flame down a little bit.
Look, I have a coaching client, true story. He got COVID this week. We still had a coaching call. He couldn't go into work. He's building something on the side. I said, look, dude, here's an opportunity for you to reposition your values. This is the great reset for you. This 7 days, these 10 days. I said, you can look at him as I'm just going to keep grinding, or you could really look at what's important. You're going to get married next year. You're probably going to have a kid after that. You can set yourself up now in this 10 days to feel. I said, feel what it's like if you were a full-time entrepreneur. When are you ever going to get that opportunity again? And he texted me after 3 days and he's like, dude, now I see it. Now I can see it. And I think when you speak about in your younger days and through my alcoholism, and I had to blow up my life at many a times, but at 36 mainly, is that what we do when we lack something or when we have the lack of what we think, we fill it up with something that we think is going to make us happy. Yes. And for you, that was money. And you're like, wait, I've got the cars, I've got the monies, I've got the house, I've got the respect in the community. Why do I still feel so unfulfilled? Mm-hmm. Right? Is that what came to the head for you?
That's exactly it. And you just hit on a really interesting thing, the respect in the community. You know, that was one of the conversations I had to have with myself. Why is it that you put so much more of your top energy, right? We all have different levels of energy throughout the day, throughout the week, right? And I was giving all of my best energy to this one bucket and then giving my family the leftovers and myself, right? The leftovers. And what was it? And what you just said there was a big piece of it. Is we all want to belong. We all want those accolades. We all want to know that we fit in. And that was my way of fitting in. And what I realized was you may think I'm great, but then you go home and you hang out with your family. And then, you know, so-and-so may come up to me after, you know, I say something on stage or on a podcast or whatever else and tell me how wonderful I am. And then, it's that shot in the arm. And then they go home and then I'm left at home with my family, right? Who's not telling me how great I am. And so I kept pursuing that shot in the arm, that false sense of belonging, instead of creating a sense of belonging within myself, with my creator and with my husband and my children. And so when I made that shift right there, everything changed. Everything changed.
I think that we have to wake up to the fact that nobody really gives a fuck about us. I mean, it's this book, this book I read, right, is 2 books, Psychology of Money and Behavioral Investing. Mm-hmm. And what he's talking about, he said, the reason that you are not as successful as you want to be per se is that you think that you're special. And ultimately understand
That's
that
so good.
If you were seeking anything outside of you, which I did my entire 20s and early 30s, well, how many properties do I have? Look at me, Dad. Look at me, Dad. I'm better than you as a dentist, right? Or like all these things. And then I never looked inward. And it's not until you have real conversations that understand. Somebody said this on another podcast, and somebody reminded me about this today. If you don't understand that no amount of freedom is going to actually give you, no amount of money is actually going to give you freedom, that you actually have freedom today. If you choose it today, then nobody can touch you. And that's freedom from your thoughts.
Same thing with belonging. It's the same thing with belonging. If you are going to continue to seek belonging outside of yourself, you're never going to have it anyway. You're never going to have it anyway.
Dude, I would say that 60 to 70%, and I'd be interested because you kind of help people too. I would say that 60%, 70% of the people I meet are extremely successful. They've got everything that you could think of, and they're going this one line. Is this it?
Is this it?
This is it. But here's the rub. And I would love for you to answer this question, because this is what I fought with for years. And I think I finally got rid of it most of the way. I thought the only reason that I had accomplished what I accomplished because I had a chip on my shoulder. And I thought if I lost my chip, I would lose my drive.
Your chip was your protection.
Yeah.
Your chip was your protection because, again, going back to that sense of belonging, the biggest fear that we have, because we need this sense of belonging, is rejection. And so if I have a chip on my shoulder, I have an energetic wall up that says, you can't hurt me. You can't inflict pain on me because I'm not letting you in enough, right? That's a chip on a shoulder. And a lot of us have it, I will say, though, that the piece of people and removing that chip on your shoulder and really understanding that true success is developed through people, through relationships, through community. And in order to do that authentically, can't have the chip. You can't have it. It's not
because if you do, then basically you're working through context.
It's not real connection. It's not real connection. And so as you shift from that place of operating from, I call it a chip on your shoulder, call it, whatever. There's a lot of other terms we could use there, but from that direction to a real sense of true belonging in yourself and working through and with other people authentically, everything changes, and business and life and all of the things become a communal sense of belonging for all of us.
What's interesting, right, is I've been dipping my toe in reluctantly because they like me and I don't really know anything about it. I've been dipping my toe into the crypto NFT space. They want me to host a show. Like I talked to some dudes in Japan yesterday. Like we had a great conversation about decentralizing real estate. I've been on a couple shows and I realized that it's about one thing: uncensored community. That's what this movement is. It's nothing more than that. These people support each other.
Yeah.
They like a contrary way of thinking. Like I'm telling you right now, I talked about it on a coaching call this morning. I think that Cody Sanchez is the voice that this place needs. And I think yours as well, because it's a different way of thinking. And we're just saying, show up as you are, be who you're going to be. We're going to respect you for your opinion. And let's go change the world. It's not
change the world.
It's not who has the ego, who's getting the credit. It's, they said that your level of success will be 100% dictated on how much you need credit for it.
Or don't need credit for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The community that you're building will surpass you at one time. And you have to be okay with that. Yeah.
It's supposed to. You're right. It is supposed to. I couldn't agree with you more about Cody Sanchez and what she's creating. It's exactly, especially right now, like if I think about what I want to build for families in this time and space where we are fighting for our freedoms right now, those of us that think this whole thing is complete chaos, that are fighting for our freedom, if there was a person that I could put in the financial freedom space as the leader to take charge in this time and space, it would be her. Makes me tear up. I would put her in that spot because of exactly what you just said. Exactly that.
She's going to allow you to be yourself.
Right.
And
about this.
And for you to do that allows you to shine in your highest form, which is going to inspire others.
That is what we're all here to do. That is the entire human experience. If we can get to a place where we love ourselves enough, right? Accept ourselves enough, have enough belonging within ourselves, that we are given permission to shine exactly who we are. Cody does that for people in business and shows them very practical avenues in which to do that.
Well, you know what's interesting? During COVID, I was in California when I got separated, and I was just out here visiting friends, and I went to a barbershop that was open, but they weren't open. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so I went in, right, and it was all Hispanic guys in Modesto. And this kid was 18 years old, and it was like I walked in. I knew a guy who owned the shop, but like I didn't have a reservation. And he's like, "Listen, I'm new. I've been training for 3 hours, or 3 months, but I've only cut a couple of hairs." And I said, "No, I'm good. Like, let's go." And he took forever. Like, it was the longest haircut of my life. He's like, "Buckle in. It's going to be a long time." But it was the best haircut I've ever got. And his attention to detail, I tipped him more than the haircut was worth. And I thought to myself in that exact moment, this is how we change America. By supporting small business owners that are living their gifts with detail and attention, that are showing up for how they want to show up for their business and for their employees. With
care and heart and presence, right? He was present. He really cares about his craft. That feels like that's a lot of what I see Cody's mission on, you know, free thinking, just
so for where do you, in what you're growing or transitioning to, where do you fit into that? Because I think you have a voice too.
I agree. I do agree with you. Yes. I have been in the women's space for the past couple of years. Leading women in balance, really, life is also the hero's journey, right? When we figure something out and we conquer our own demon, we are to come back to the village and offer the tools, resources to the community. I've been doing that for women. In this time and space, I'm shifting to families because of where I'm at. It's the part that I've been homeschooling and, entrepreneur schooling our girls for the past 4 years with my husband, and seeing what's happening right now in the world and what's happening with families and communities in general. I mean, we're in the middle of a bit of a great divide, unfortunately, of you're on this side, I'm on this side, and I don't know what we can't be friends anymore or whatever else. And so part of that is to create a community of people that feel less alone in this, but also building the foundation of your family, moving together in the same direction has never been more important. And so, yes, you can work singularly with a, mom, or you can work singularly with a father. But as soon as you bring a family together and say, how can we all move forward in lockstep together, I don't think it's ever been so important as it is right now. And so that's the space that I see myself in. If you were to take, though, someone like Cody, part of that moving together as a family is financial security and financial freedom. And so for me, I'm really the coordinator of the principles and how you do that. How do you gather together as a family and create shared visions, shared values, priorities together and move forward, have that conversation, that communication. But then having someone like Cody support a community like that and how you gain financial freedom, having somebody else come in with the part of how you do whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And so being a facilitator for that, definitely with families.
as much as we are connected through technology, we are more disconnected than ever through humanity, right? And that's why we're writing a book right now, how to win friends and influence people in a digital age. We're writing that book right now because the reason that people like me is that regardless of Zoom or regardless of whatever, like I treat everybody and I give them the benefit of the doubt, and I open my arms to who they are, and it's really hard in the recovery space, right? Especially because I deal with, heroin addicts and meth addicts. What they're really seeking? No judgment. It's all they're seeking.
It's kind of what we're all seeking.
Right? Because nobody's allowed to be anything anymore, right? We got to be what we're supposed to be instead of be what we're supposed, because when you talk about financial freedom, I think this is the thing that I woke up to. It can happen really quickly.
Absolutely.
If you're living the lifestyle the right way and not for the Joneses, right? Like,
but
if you don't need
really quickly when it's where you're working for the Joneses, but then you're still at that place of emptiness at the end of it. And so
I have a friend.
If they're either way.
I have an ex-coaching client who came on with me, left his job, started his own business, right? A family of 3. They live on $3,000 a month, own their home. And he's made $230,000 in 6 months wholesaling. And he's like, I'm good for the next 3 years. And it's like, because he made a choice that it was for him and he wanted to work from home to be with his kids. And so, I was talking about this just yesterday on a podcast. Seth Godin and Aubrey Marcus and Cody, they're all talking about this gig economy, this freelance, there are something that you're really good at in this world. And you could only do that. And you could work 2-3 days a week, right? I see you, like, you're working hard, but you're also spending time with your family. Like, it can be done. Don't tell me it can't.
Oh, I am very aware of what can be created with efficiency and effectiveness, intentionality. However, for someone like me who had to learn the hard way of what it feels like when you are on that one track, I'm unwilling to sacrifice my top priorities for one thing. The money's one bucket in life. It's one bucket.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
When you were on that one track,
yes,
did part of you say, but look what I'm doing for us? But we have all the money and
that's how I slept at night, buddy.
and everybody's going, that's not what we're asking for.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. That is how I slept at night. If some of my friends listen to this, they're going to kill me, but the motto of a bunch of us back then was this total world domination. And it was financially based only. Right? Which is creepy because of what's happening in the world right now, right? Like, super creepy.
You were ahead of your time. Yeah.
I was ahead of my time. And I was like, whoa, wrong direction there. Yes, that's how I slept at night. I'm doing this for us. Don't you guys want boats and cars and whatever it may be? And here's the thing. Don't get me wrong. I will not knock money for a second. It is a beautiful vehicle. I think financial freedom is something that all people should have as a priority, more so than having your basic needs met. Money's wonderful. It is a wonderful, wonderful vehicle, but it is a really bad master. And so we have to stay really focused on, am I doing this for you while not being with you ever? The balance wasn't there. Or again, like I said, giving them the residual. Like, if I've got this tank right here, I've got the Brandy tank, and I'm waking up in the morning and I'm crushing it, right? Getting all the balls rolling when it comes to work and whatever else. And I get done at the end of the day and I'm still connected to my whatever, and I'm distracted and I'm exhausted. And that's the energy that my family is getting. We all know what I'm doing. We all know what my priorities are, my true priorities. It may not be what I'm saying. We all know. It's not, we can lie to ourselves as long as we want and say we're doing it for the family. I understand. I will say this though. I understand that there are seasons in order to take a big leap. Okay. There are, and sometimes we have to do that.
Did you have the conversation with your family or your spouse ahead of time?
Well, that for sure. I will also say, if you are at a place where you are not financially free, or you are barely making ends meet and you are paycheck to paycheck or less, that I think that a season of your life to make a sacrifice that could take time out of your family bucket and put it into that bucket to get yourself to a different place. Yes, I think that is important. I do. Mm-hmm. I also think that it is important if you have sat down and had a conversation with your family that says, in this time and space, I think it's more important for us to have this leap financially because of X, Y, and Z. And this is how long I'm going to give it a shot. But if that shot continues like it did for Brandy Salazar for years and years and years and years and years, and you just keep going and you just keep grinding, and the numbers just have to keep increasing, and I don't have a big why at the end of it. And my family, as much as they're saying that they're bought in, they're saying they're bought in because they don't want to hurt my feelings. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that's why I have so much peace in my hustle, because I've set a time. I'm 39 in 2 months. At 45, we're going to have a real conversation. What businesses do I want to sell? What do I want to keep? What makes sense for my lifestyle moving forward? In that time, I'm now sober. I have access to amazing mentors. I have access to capital. I have access to the healthiest I ever felt. My mind's right. So now it's time for me to go build my freedom. Yeah. So I can go do that. And everybody that knows me knows that that's what's happening right now. And everybody's okay. But
and you're in a partnership where that's conducive.
Yeah.
You know, I was in a situation where I have 2 little girls at home, and leaving it, you know, the bulk of it to somebody else to manage and deal with, you know. Mm-hmm. And I'm not, again, I want to be clear. I'm not knocking it. I'm not knocking having nannies. I'm not knocking having support. I'm not. We all know if I would have really sat down with myself and said, Brandy, are you living by the priorities that you say you want to live by? The answer is no. Yeah. The answer was no. The answer today is a big hell yes.
Is a big hell yes.
Without a shadow of a doubt. It is. And that is the part and the feeling that I have on the inside of my relationship with God, my relationship with my husband, my relationship with myself, my relationship with my girls, my relationship to money, all of that. That's what I want people to be able to feel. I've felt both sides. I know what it feels like to get the shot in the arm and be the big, you know what, making the money. I do know what that feels like. It's a high. It's a drug. It's just like alcohol. It is.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah. And so y'all just went through a really big move.
Yes.
Really big move.
This one was bigger.
From California to Oklahoma with the family. For anybody, regardless if they're moving, let's just say they're in a job they can't stand or whatever. You left friends, you left families for a new start in a new state where you don't know basically anybody. And that's a big move, right? But you made a decision that there was something that was calling you there, and you wanted a different life. You know, what would be your advice to anybody that's contemplating a big shift for their family or themselves? Like what advice would you give them after doing yours, which you're still kind of in the middle of a little bit?
Yeah. And, you know, we've done this twice. We, 4.5, 5 years ago, we quit our careers and sold all of our big house and all the stuff, right? All the stuff we accumulated. Sold it all and took a sabbatical and homeschooled our girls. That was a huge jump off the cliff leap. So here's what I want to share now that I've done this a couple of times. It's scary. Okay. The feelings of fear, the feelings of what if, all of those things, they come up. The question that we have to ask ourselves is, what is the vision that I have for my life? What are my priorities? And what are the steps that I need to take to live in alignment with that? And if part of that answer is a jump off of a big cliff or a little cliff, or, you know, this last one of moving across country was a big cliff we had to launch off of and hope to God there was a net when we landed. If you are in alignment, there's a net there. There's a net there. And we have to remember that these decisions that we make, if there's something pressing on your heart of, I really want this in order or for me to feel in more alignment with my mission, vision and values for my family, then know that there's a net there. Just check in with the alignment. It does not mean that it's not going to be scary, though. Moving across country, packing your family, moving your children, your pets, all cats, by the way, are really hard to move cross country. It's hard and it's scary and it takes courage. And what is courage? It's taking action, even when there's fear there, even when you're scared. And so amazing lives, though, take courage. Mm-hmm. They take pushing through those scary things. Us selling everything and homeschooling our girls was, to this day, the most amazing choice we have ever made. Hands down. And we were crazy. We'd never homeschooled before. I don't have a high school diploma. What am I doing? Homeschooling my children, mm-hmm. Right? We were crazy people. Selling the house behind the gates for a tiny little farmhouse. What is this going to do to your children? Literally, people had asked us that.
Well, and not to mention, we revert back to what we talked about earlier. What is it going to do with my social standing in the community?
You want to know what it did to my social standing in the community? I lost a lot of friends. Absolutely.
So you think I'm in a
relationship with a lot of those people? I am not.
That tell me they weren't really friends in the first place.
And that's the interesting part that it's the thing that I was saying in the beginning, where I was working, and it wasn't even just for the money in the bank. It was for the social accolades. It was for the pat on the back. But guess what? That person goes home. And when you're done and you say, I'm not doing 200 deals a year anymore, guess what? They don't have a reason to talk to you anymore. Most of them. That's not all of them. I will tell you this. The good ones, they rise to the top. Mm-hmm. They rise to the top. It's the Matt Achesons. It's the Cody Sanchez's,
Aaron Musastegi, yeah,
right. These are the people that have remained some of my dearest and closest friends, And so, really, the other part of what life's about is quality over quantity. Mm-hmm. And so, think about this small pool of people that you take with you after you make a scary leap like that. Quitting your career, moving locations, whatever it may be for you. Think about that. Oh, I'm so scared. What are people going to think of me anymore? What's the line? Those that mind won't matter, and those that matter won't mind.
You know what? You know what's interesting that you say that? He never. You know why I know that I'm moving in the right direction? Mm. I never had anybody question me on my divorce. Mm. Everybody goes, hey, man, whatever you see fit for the rest of your life.
You had good friends.
You go do that, right? And it's not until you said that they made me realize that it wasn't like, whoa, hold on. You know, what is that going to do to you? Like, no, dude, I live 100% against the grain. Like, that's I'm not saying it's my brand, but that's kind of like just the way I roll, right? And so you did the same thing by homeschooling your kids and getting to a smaller house. Mm. But I know that is probably that time and space is going to propel you for everything that you're moving into now. Right. Yeah. And you said something, you said, look, just because I've been on sabbatical doesn't mean I still don't have ideas. Doesn't mean I still don't want to go crush it. Right. And so
that's the other part. When we're really talking about honoring who we are, Brandy Salazar can't sit back and be a stay-at-home mom forever. It's not who I am. But now, guess what? My kids get to see it done what I believe is right. This is the right way to do it. Mm-hmm. You know, where I'm not leaving them in the dust to pursue,
you're involving them.
Oh, and that's a whole other conversation.
That's another episode.
That's another episode. How do you entrepreneur school your children?
With the teenage tude. Yeah.
Yeah. With a teenage tude. Right. Absolutely. How do you get kids to consistently goal set? This is exactly why I want to go in the family space.
I'm
now on my 5th year, and I'm telling you right now, it's working. And it's working really well. My kids are awesome.
I think one of the most impressive things, and I talk about it ad nauseum, one of the most impressive things that I see from people that I look up to, meaning you, the Musastegis, Atkinson, is the way that their kids think and grow and start businesses. And I love everything about that. And if you can play a small part in your community by creating that same thing, dude, I'm all for it on like all fingers and toes. Like, it's just because it matters, right? Because it's, you know what? I'm going to tell you something, because I have just reconnected with my father this week because I interviewed a guy named Ken Wimberly, who's in GoBundance, I believe. Yes. And he's like, I think he like sent me some songs afterwards. And he's like, Austin, we had a long talk about family and kids. As adults, we need to understand that our kids can be the lesson teachers sometimes too.
They are the biggest, if you ask.
Like, I'll tell you a story and you'll love this. I'll tell you a story. So my friend I was talking about in Idaho, the fires happened. We didn't have anywhere to go. My girlfriend's sister lives in Spokane. I had to go to New York for work. I said, what if I change my flight to Spokane? We'll go visit my friend Julie up in Idaho. We've never been there. So we go up to, Julie's like, yeah, sounds great. Stay with us. We don't care. And so we roll up there. She's got a 9-year-old and a 13-year-old. By the way, her 13-year-old is me. We're the same person. Like he is the same as me. But the 9-year-old, so we're going to hike, or we're going to like see the waterfall or anything. She has her head out the window and she's waving at every car that's passing by. And she's like, hey, have a great day. And like, here I am worried about my shit that might burn up. I'm worried about the work I want to do. And I stopped her after spending 24 hours with this 9-year-old. And I said, you have taught me more about life in 24 hours than any adult has ever taught me. Because you're showing that you're so happy and you're just wanting to make that person next to you smile. And you're just happy to wonder, and you're happy to like have curiosity. And I wrote this long post about it because we as adults have removed fun and wonder and curiosity for what we think is fucking security, which actually is us running from our own self.
That's such a good line. Running from our own self.
It's what we do every day.
That was for me for so long. I was just running from myself.
Netflix, alcohol,
little girl in survival. Yeah.
Because through survival, you cannot create anything. It's only sustain. So you're not creating who you actually are. You're only surviving to get to the next day.
She was slowly finding herself through that process. I would see glimmers, I would have moments where it would.
And all you wanted to do was grab her and like stay. Like, it's the same thing with me. Like,
But it's the fear. It's the fear. That was the part. That's where, as much as I have done some very courageous things in my life, I was scared. I was just, I was scared.
So if people want to follow you for what you're going to create, by the way, guys, I'm not going to give it away. She'll show you some other time. What she's creating, if I played any small part, is going to take over. It is such a smart idea. And I can't wait for her to show y'all what she's working on. If they want to do that, they want to find out about you, how would they do that?
My Instagram is my best place. Miss Brandy Salazar, MRS. That's where I'm the most active. I'm a story person. So you'll go on probably, I don't even know the last time I actually posted a post, but I live on my stories. I share a lot about both of the businesses that we're creating, about entrepreneur schooling our kids. And I share a lot.
Well, I know that I am excited because I want to join this new group, because I want to learn from the people that have paved the way how to do this, because it's probably my number one fear right now is to make sure I create and cultivate a family environment that is one of no judgment and growth and kind of letting them shine through who they are. Right. And so I love this movement. I'm all about it. So I can't wait to see more of it.
Thank you, Austin. You're awesome.
My pleasure. Guys, if you like this episode, make sure you send it to somebody that will get some value from us. Rate us and review us, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Construct Your Life with Austin Linney. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and pay it forward by sharing with a friend. Most importantly, take this opportunity to start constructing your life by taking immediate action on what you learned. For show notes, resources, and more information on one-on-one coaching with Austin, visit constructyourlifepodcast.com.